good morning, good morning. It is gonna be a great day. It'll be cold. It's rain. I've had a not quite a half inch, 4/10. A 4/10 up where my grass is, up on the ranch land. Got 4/10 on here at the house. It's about 28 miles between the two. Once I get up to all my grass, it's not all on the. So Oklahoma's broken up into mile squares, and then those are split into quarters most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. So a lot of the land is in this part of the country is the roads are square. It's a grid, and unlike when I lived in Arkansas for 4 years, there was nothing straight. Seemed like everything was marked. The roads, they had markers on all the roads. That was very helpful. You'd be on a main road and it'd be curvy and everything. It's funny that those people didn't know directions very well. My Arkansas friends can attest to that. Didn't know directions very well. They would say, "Don't tell me east and west. Tell me left and right." But anyway, we would tease them sometimes. But you'd lose track of directions up there because of, for me, I always used as a little kid. I used the north barn. We had a barn we called the north barn and the west barn there on the ranch, and that kind of. And then as I got further out, I'd think, okay, well, Kansas is up that direction, and Texas Panhandle's out there, and Arkansas is that way, and Texas, south. We just say southern Oklahoma. You could just, if you could figure out the others, you know what I mean. So anyway, some people are. I still get them crossed up sometimes. It's amazing, but anyway, all that to be said, all of our land up there is. Just quarters, and then you may go down the road a half a mile or whatever to another quarter and go 2 or 3 miles, and then there's another one, and then 2 or 3 miles there's another one. And so it just the way our land is close together but not connecting, not huge acres, just 160 at a time. So but very blessed, thankful. Got other families' land right across the fence. What's pretty cool is I've got family that is in all directions around me. Both sides of my family up there. Just so happened my dad's sister moved up there where my mom grew up, and so it's pretty neat. We lost a lot of land that was connected together, that was part of the family's land on one side, but we gained in another. God took care of us in a pretty amazing way, so as a family. But that's because of God's faithfulness, and that's because of the faithfulness of my parents and grandparents to follow God and hold on to God, even in the midst of some things that were difficult and challenging. Well, good morning, Aranda. Good morning, Lucy. Good morning, Brad. Good morning, Mara. Good morning, Robin. Misty, good morning. Good morning, Sean Summers. Valerie, good morning, Mom. Good morning, Boyd Pete. It's pretty cool to get to know some of the people as we grow. I talk about Sean Mayfield, how he builds saddles, pastors the church down at Cross Brand Cowboy Church in Waurika. I go down there and rope with him. He does big loop ropings and stuff. He trains horses. Really, really great guy. He and his wife Cindy, and gotten to know them pretty well. Love spending time with them and just fellowship. And he and I'll talk horses, talk ministry, talk just encouraging one another. But then Ryan Owens, they're over in Maysville, Kentucky, and he and Lucy, and I've gotten to know them through one of our mutual friends that's on here a lot, and he started a leatherwork business, RO Cattle and Leather, I believe is what I went over and liked their page. That's a pretty cool deal. You know, you get to feeling like you really know people because you see on Facebook and you connect through these types of things. And so, you know, I love seeing people, but they really come to Christ and giving their lives and are starting that walk. And it's just encouraging to see people like that growing, even even people who are out further than our reach of being right here, able to fellowship together. Some of you have known a long time. Some of you, you know, just getting to know. And so pretty cool deal. So good morning, everybody. Some of you I'm related to, Sean Summers, brother-in-law, and anyway, good to have you on here. Well, good morning, Bill Wilkins. I missed you down there. That's Lori. That's another one, old classmate, somebody from high school. Pretty cool. Well, let's get into the Word this morning, because when I woke up this morning early, the thing that sometimes the Lord just gives me kind of a word to go on, and two things I want to do today. And one is that I want to talk about this word that God said. He said, don't complain. Complaining is very, it's a very negative response. And he wasn't necessarily telling me to not complain, because I generally don't. I mean, there's times whenever we all complain a little bit, but there's a difference in it ruling your life. If you gripe and complain all the time, you're going to be in a negative mode all the time, and it'll go so far as to affect your facial expressions. When you're in a complaining mode, even if it's just in your head, maybe you're not out there where you can say anything. You're just griping. So it affects your attitude, and you begin to see everything wrong. Complaining is, you know, I'm just telling the truth. Well, yeah, but how you tell the truth affects everything about you. You know, when I wake up in the morning, you know, and you and I, when we swing our legs off that bed and we hit the floor, how are we going to live our day? And you have a choice, and you're making a choice, a lot of you, by starting your day with this teaching. This is easy for me because this is the way I start every day. In the Word, in prayer, and with a mindset of bringing God into my life now, and into my daily things. Now, there's going to be times your life will be worthy of complaining. I mean, everything doesn't always fall exactly like we want it to. Everything isn't always easy. And you know, I think back through my life of times where, you know, I've had a lot of things that were hard, a lot of things that were challenging in my life, but they made me better. They made me stronger. They made me into the man that I am. But the reason it didn't make me bitter and angry and mad at the world and always seeing things, because I could have, but I learned early, and I chose to follow God, and I learned to take His word and to apply it and walk in it. And it gives us an ability to see past the current situation that's worthy of complaint. You could say, man, I just get going and then this happens. Or why does this always have to happen to me? If that's your statement, get that out of your mouth. Quit saying that. This is like a dad talking to, you know, you may be older than me, but this is a loving pastor talking to you. Quit talking like that and change it. Well, but, okay, get the but out of the way. All right, I'm gonna just really encourage you today. Be careful of the way you talk, because here's the thing, and I wanted to illustrate a way to study about something like this. When God gives you a word, I had a man, one of the men I'm mentoring in the Word, which there's many that study after, you know, listen to these teachings, but there's a few that are close in my church. He's asking me, you need to teach how to study. And one of the things that most Bibles will give, I could pull probably every Bible on I've got 12 or 14 Bibles back here on my bookcase, different ones for different applications. Some I've just kept because I've had them so long, but they all have a concordance in the back. And most Bibles will, if it's a decent Bible at all. It doesn't even have to be a real heavy study Bible to have a concordance in the back. And so you can go back there and search a word. And when God gave me that word, complaint or don't complain, so I went back here and I opened up in this one, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different scriptures where the word complain or complaining comes up. And one of the places is in Numbers. When they were in the wilderness, they began to complain against God. They complained against Moses, and God, and they said, well, we'll just die out here in the wilderness. And God said, I'm going to give you what you say. I'm going to give you the words. That's over in Numbers chapter 14. We want to be careful because our words have so much power and weight, not only to affect us, but to affect everything around us. When we talk right, we're not telling God, when we speak words of faith, we're not telling God what he's got to do. God's not snapping to our, command. That's not it at all. What we're doing is we're declaring where we're going to go. And so we set our life in motion. We set and establish our steps. We're aligning our attitude with God by saying the right words. And so we take the word of God and we're declaring what God's already promised to us. Really what we're doing when we get our words right and when we speak the word of God, we're not telling God what to do. We're telling our circumstances and our situations and our attitude and the devil and the angels that minister to us. We're setting those things in the right motion. Same way when we speak negative. When you speak negative, it's even scientifically proven. Your body, everything about you follows that attitude, mindset, words. It starts trying to accomplish that. You say, well, I'm never in the right place, or I always miss it. Well, it's like, okay, well, we're not going to try to anticipate getting in the right place. So, it's an amazing thing. Be careful about those things because our words have such power. I didn't want to make this about words, but what do we do when we complain? Most of the time we talk about it. We're saying it outwardly. Now, I started to mention this, and I want to finish that thought. It will begin to affect your countenance. It'll affect you the way you look. It will affect your facial expressions. It'll bring a darkness to your mind when we complain, when we're always griping and complaining. It'll also affect those around us. If you think about it, where do you enjoy working, or who do you like being around? People who are positive. If you're constantly griping, I've seen this happen where people talk negative. They complain and gripe about their spouse or about their kids or about their job and they're constantly seeing everything negative. Complaining is a powerful force. It'll affect a church. It'll affect a home. It'll divide. It'll separate. But it'll also, and it begins in you. It separates you from the life of God, the joy of the Lord, the love of God, because it draws so much attention and focus on everything that's wrong instead of the things that are right. It's in your power to make that choice. Just ask yourself, is this a legitimate gripe or complaint? Is this something that deserves attention? And how do I handle it? Drawing attention to it, never complaining, never saying, hey, no, this has got to stop. It's not what I'm saying. You just have to make sure that you don't find everything negative about it. If there's something that's harmful, somebody's doing something that's abusive or something like that, hey, drawing a line there, stopping that sort of thing. But just complaining about things is different. I want to read one scripture, one of the scriptures, and I didn't want to take the time to go to Numbers chapter 14. We might go there tomorrow. Let's see, what is today? Friday. We might go another time. But today, I want us to read out of Philippians chapter 2. And he says, Dear friends, you always follow my instructions when I was with you, and now I am away. It's even more important. So Paul is writing back to a church that he had been at, the church in Philippi. The Philippians were receiving this letter. But he says, now, the rest of that verse 12, Philippians 2:12, he says, work hard to show yourselves, to show the results of your salvation, obeying God with deep reverence and fear. So he says, here's what you got to do. You got to go to work. Work's not a bad four-letter word. Some people think it is. No, work is good. We're not working to earn salvation, but we were working to put to work, or to put into works, into our lives, what God has given us. He says, work hard to show the results of your salvation and obey God. Now notice this. He says, verse 13, for God is working in you, giving you the desire and the power to do what pleases Him. So God's work's at work in us. We just got to not get in its way. And we got to rely on it. We got to allow it to do the work on the inside to begin to transform and change us, bring us out of that. And he says in verse 14, do everything without complaining and arguing, so that no one can criticize you. So he's telling them, as believers, as you come together, don't let criticism and arguments and complaining be the rule of the day. Boy, sometimes it's easy to pick apart what's happening or what other people are doing or what, this or that. Just make sure that it's not in a way that causes arguments and things. But he says, live clean, innocent lives as children of God, shining like bright lights in a world full of that is full of crooked and perverse people. Man, isn't that what we got to do today? Well, if we're spending all our time complaining, we're no better than the world. Just understand that God's, I believe, ministering to us or telling us today. Just make sure that you're not just in that constant mode. It'll begin to affect everything around you when you get into a gripe mode, a complaint. Because, one of the things that the devil will do is he will absolutely he'll fuel that fire. If you begin to find one thing to complain about, it'll just pile on, won't it? Just think about that. It just begins to there's more and more. You complain about this, and then you get in your car and you complain about that, and then you get in driving and it's complaining about that. You get to work, it's complaining about that. You get home and it's like, oh, now it's, it just builds. Man, it's so much lighter to live different than that. Get the attitude of Jesus Christ and walk after Him and pursue Him. Well, listen, I got to wrap this up. I could go on and on about this, but some of you'd complain. I hope you laughed at that. Sometimes we just got to laugh at ourselves. Sometimes we listen to a word or we hear something and we say, man, I've let myself become or slip into that. Don't do it. Change. You have the power working in you. If you've made Jesus Lord, He said it right there in verse 12. Work hard, but understand, or verse 13, for God is working in you, giving you the desire and the power to do what pleases Him. All we got to do is surrender. Say, okay, God, I surrender to you. Okay, God, I give it to you. So go out today, decide. It's Friday. I'm going to have a great day, and if something bad happens, it's not ruining my day. I'm going to give God praise, and I'm going to move on, and I'm going to have a great weekend. Well, listen, as you go through it, be blessed. Bless somebody else, and as always, go get them for Jesus. Love y'all. Well, let's see on here. Good morning, GM. I had to think about that, Kevin. I already said be the light. Yes, Robin. Sean Delaney, good to have you on here. Sean Mayfield. Got 3 Seans. All right. Daniel or Danny, good morning. Morning, Ryan. There's the RO Cattle and Leather. I already said I think hi to everybody else. Let's see. Misty, good morning. All right, good deal. Well, good to have y'all this morning. Be blessed and have a good weekend.